I've been in police work long enough to learn a simple truth. Silence isn't empty. Silence is trained. For 25 years, I've handled the part of cases most people never see. Evidence bags, lab reports, photos no one wants to describe out loud. I've watched lies collapse under fluorescent lights. I've watched accidents spell themselves into patterns. And I've also lived by a rule book. My rule book, my code, not the department's procedures, not the manual, mine. Because sometimes the system moves too slow, and sometimes it doesn't move at all. I don't talk about my code. I don't write it down. I don't even say the word in my own head unless I have to. Superstition, maybe, or instinct. Either way, it kept me alive. Until the night the evidence arrived labeled with two words that should never exist in the same sentence. Case, you. It was just after 9 p.m. when I found it. The building was in its half-sleep. Most of the detectives gone. The front desk running on a skeleton crew. The hallways dimmed to that sickly yellow that makes everything feel like a memory. On my stainless steel table sat a brown evidence bag. No barcode, no case number, no signature chain. Just a thick black marker label written in all caps like a warning. Case, you. I actually laughed. A quiet, tired laugh. Because that's what you do when something wants you to be afraid. I checked the intake log. Nothing. Checked the camera log. Nothing. Checked with the night sergeant. He looked at the bag, looked at me and said, "Wasn't me." The bag sat there anyway, like it had always belonged to the room. I should have walked it straight to the captain's office, but I've spent my whole career opening doors other people don't want opened. So I put on gloves, and I opened it. Inside was a single glass slide, sealed in plastic. One dry drop of blood, and a sticky note pressed against the plastic, like a fingerprint. In small, neat handwriting, it read, "Don't break the code." My stomach tightened, because nobody knew. Nobody. Not my partner. Not my captain. Not my therapist. Not the people who'd beg me to just let it go after certain cases went cold. No one knew I had a code. So how did the evidence? I set the slide under the scanner and ran it through our system like I always do. Routine motions, steady hands, calm breathing. The kind of calm you learn when you're staring at human tragedy under a microscope. The DNA analysis began. The screen showed the loading bar, and then the results window popped up. Before the test finished. That shouldn't happen. A new file opened on my desktop by itself. No mouse movement. No keystrokes. No login request. Just a blank report that started filling in letter by letter, like someone typing from the other side of the glass. Subject, me status, next location. Lab I stood so still I could hear the fluorescent bulbs humming above me, and the cooling fan inside my computer, and the wet click of my own swallow. Then the printer in the back storage room started up, not the main printer, the old dot matrix one nobody uses anymore. The one that sounds like a dying insect. It rattled and screeched and spat out a single sheet. I walked over slowly, like the paper might bite. On it, in that jagged dot matrix font, it said, "You always collect monsters." Who collects you? I stared at the sentence until the words stopped being words. And that's when I noticed something else. The security camera above my evidence table wasn't pointed at the table. It was aimed down the hallway behind me, like it was watching my back. I opened the camera feed on my monitor. The hallway was empty, long, narrow, quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you hear your own thoughts too clearly. I watched for a full 10 seconds, then 20. Nothing moved. Then at the far end, something shifted. Barely. A darkness that got darker. Not walking toward the camera. Not running. Just standing there. Like it had all the time in the world. I turned around. The hallway behind me was empty. I turned back to the monitor. The shape was closer. Still no face. No features. Just the outline of a person, too still to be human. And on its hands, white flashes in the grainy footage, something that looked like gloves. The figure raised one hand slowly. Not a wave. A point. It pointed at the lab light switch near my door. Then the feed glitched, and a warning message appeared over the video like the system itself was trying to save me. Do not turn on the lights. My lights were already on. So why did my throat go dry? Because the message didn't feel like a warning. It felt like instruction, like someone wanted the darkness and didn't want me to interfere. A click came from the hallway. The switch near my door snapped down. The lab lights went off. For half a second, I saw my own reflection in the dark window, my face floating in the glass like a ghost. Then the light snapped back on. Off again. On again. Off. On. Like someone testing how fast my world could disappear. My phone buzzed in my pocket. No signal in the basement. Never is. But the screen lit anyway with a notification from an app one didn't recognize. Black icon. White eye. Message. Motion detected behind you. I didn't turn around. Not because I was brave. Because I've learned something else in this job. Sometimes fear is a door, and turning around is how you open it. Instead, I did something I almost never do. I called my partner. 1 ring. 2, the call connected. But it wasn't her voice. It was mine. My exact tone, my exact rhythm, calm, professional, like I was reading a report. Stay late. My voice said, stay alone. Then, softly, my voice laughed, like someone enjoying a private joke. The line went dead, and from the hallway, I heard the slow sound of footsteps. Not running, not sneaking, just walking, steady, patient, like it knew I couldn't leave. There's a room in every precinct nobody talks about, a place where old cases go when the department is tired of saying the word unsolved. We call it the archive. If someone was manipulating chain of custody, if someone was planting evidence, the archive would show the fingerprints. Paper remembers even when people don't. So I grabbed my flashlight, my service weapon, more out of habit than hope, and I left the lab. The hallway lights flickered as I walked, like they were blinking messages. The archive door sat into the corridor behind a steel gate. It's always locked. Always. That night, the gate was already open. The archive door handle turned when I touched it. No resistance. The door swung inward with a slow, exhausted creak. The air inside smelled like wet cardboard and cold metal, like a basement that never sees sunlight. My flashlight beam cut across dusty shelves. Stacks of folders. Boxes labeled with years. Names that had stopped being said out loud. Then I saw it. On the center table, under the single overhead bulb, sat another folder. Brown, thick, clean, held shut by a red rubber band, like the one I'd found in the lab. Only this one had a label written in my handwriting. Episode 1. The end, I didn't want to touch it. I did anyway. Inside were photos. Crime scene photos. Of my lab. Of my hallway. Of my desk. The last photo was a close-up of my face looking straight into the camera. But my eyes were wrong. Too calm. Too certain. Like the photo was taken after something inside me had already been replaced. A note slipped out of the folder and fluttered onto the table. 2 lines. One of you leaves. One of you stays for the file. My flashlight trembled because I was alone. So who was you? Click. A tape recorder on the shelf turned on. No tape. No power light. No cord. Just the softest of static. And then a voice. Warm. Patient. Not loud. Right inside the room. Like it was coming from the shelves themselves. Don't panic. The voice said. Panic ruins evidence. My skin tightened. Who are you? I asked, and my voice didn't sound like mine anymore. A pause. Then the recorder answered. I'm the archivist. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. Yeah, and what do you want? The voice sounded. Please, what you want? It said. Closure. The overhead bulb flickered, and shadows shifted like they were breathing. The archivist continued. You build a code because you hate unfinished stories. You hate monsters who walk away with no consequences. My jaw clenched. You don't know anything about me. The recorder clicked like a tongue against teeth. Oh, I do, the archivist said. I read your reports. The shelves around me creaked, not from age, but from movement. You think you've been collecting monsters, the archivist whispered. But the truth is, you've been feeding me. My throat went tight. What are you? The voice smiled through the static. I'm what remains when people disappear without witnesses. I'm the gap in the paperwork. I'm the missing page. A cold drop of sweat slid down my spine. And tonight, the archivist said, "You become a file." I backed toward the door. It was still open, but when I reached it, the doorway wasn't a doorway anymore. It was darkness, solid, like paint poured into the shape of an exit. My flashlight beam didn't cut through it. It just died against it. Behind me, the tape recorder clicked again. "Don't turn on the lights," the archivist said, almost gently. "You'll see the wrong things." The overhead bulb went out, total dark, and in the dark, I heard something shift, something tall and slow, like a person standing up after sitting for a long time. Then the bulb flickered back on. For a single second, in that 1 second, my flashlight caught a figure reflected in the plastic cover of a folder on the shelf. Behind me, too close, no face, no features, just a smooth blank where a human should be, and gloved hands holding a folder, my folder. The bulb died again, and a whisper pressed into my ear, not from the recorder, not from the shelves, from the air itself. "Stay." My code doesn't allow panic. My code says observe, decide, act. So I acted. I grabbed the nearest archive box and threw it into the darkness. Folders exploded across the floor like dead birds. Something moved, fast, too fast. The overhead bulb burst with a soft pop, plunging the room into red emergency light. The tape recorder laughed. "You can't fight paperwork," the archivist said. "It always wins." My phone buzzed again. Same black icon. White eye. New message. Time of death. 23:17. I looked at my watch. 23:16. My heart tried to climb out of my chest. The door handle behind me turned. Slowly, carefully, from the inside. But I was already inside. That's when I understood the trick. It wasn't trying to kill me. It was trying to make me part of the archive. One more story filed away. One more missing person with no witness. Because if nobody witnesses you, you become a rumor, and rumors don't get solved. A final sheet slid out of the dot matrix printer on the table. Because yes, somehow there was one there too, now in the archive, like reality had decided to reuse props. The paper read, "Answer the call." My phone started ringing. Caller ID me. My finger hovered over the screen. I could hear my own breathing. Then the whisper came again, closer than before. "If you answer, you'll hear the truth." And the archivist's voice, softer, almost kind. "You've always wanted the truth." I didn't answer. Instead, I did the one thing I'd avoided my whole career. I said something true that wasn't evidence. Not a report. Not a fact. A truth. Out loud. To the room. "When I was 8, I said, and my voice shook, I got lost in my grandmother's basement. I sat in the dark and sang to myself, so I wouldn't go crazy." The air changed. Like the room didn't expect honesty. I kept going, louder. "My grandmother found me and told me, don't hide from the dark. You're hiding from yourself." The darkness in the doorway cracked, like paint drying and splitting. The archivist went silent for the first time. So I pushed. I didn't join this job to feel powerful. I said, I joined because I was afraid of helplessness. I joined because I needed the world to make sense. The shelves shook. Paper trembled. The red rubber band on the folder snapped by itself with a dry twang. From the tape recorder came a sound like irritation. "No," the archivist said. And then, in the flicker of emergency light, I saw the faceless thing move toward me. Not fast, confident, like it knew the ending. So I gave it a different one. I grabbed the folder labeled Episode 1, the Yendi, and ripped it open. Photos scattered. Notes fluttered. And on the very last page in my handwriting was a sentence I hadn't written before. "You can't file what's still speaking." I read it out loud. The moment the words left my mouth, the air screamed, not a human scream, but the sound of a tape being yanked from a machine. The darkness in the doorway shattered like glass. The archive door, an actual door, reappeared. Real handle, real hinges. I ran. I hit the hallway like it was fresh air. The fluorescent lights buzzed. The building felt normal again. Ugly normal, cheap normal, real. I didn't stop until I reached the lab. The evidence table was empty. The bag was gone. The slide was gone. No dot matrix printouts. No weird files on my computer. Nothing. Like the whole night had been filed away. I stood there, breathing hard, staring at my own reflection in the lab window. For a moment, I waited to see if my eyes looked wrong. They didn't. I told myself it was over. That's what people always do. Then my monitor woke up on its own. A new file appeared on the desktop. Not typed, not loading, already finished. Case, you episode 2 and under it. An address. My address. My phone buzzed. One last notification from the Black Eye app. Motion detected. Home. Then the screen lit with an incoming call. Caller ID me. And this time, the voicemail started playing without me touching anything. My voice, calm as a report, said, "Time of death, 23:17. I checked the time on the corner of my monitor. 23:16. I stared at the lab door. The handle didn't move. Not yet, but somewhere deep in the building, a tape recorder clicked, like someone hitting record. And I realized the worst part. After 25 years collecting monsters, I finally became a case. And now, someone is writing the report.